Chapter 10. I thought for sure you'd blow me off, Jenna says as she opens her front door. I've never blown you off on purpose, I say, shrugging off my jacket and handing it to her. It's a good thing the pull of the bath wasn't strong enough to keep me away. The awkwardness hangs heavily in the air between us. You've been ignoring me, she claims as she tosses my coat into the closet, but not bothering to put it on a hanger. I'm here now, aren't I? I don't know, she says. Maybe you're an illusion. Let me see. She reaches out and pinches my arm. Hard. Ouch! I yelp, pulling away. Okay, you're real. Dad's making pancakes. Are you hungry? Starved, I say, rubbing my arm. Then I need to do some research on your computer, okay? She stops outside the kitchen. It's not about the whole colors thing, right? No, it's not, I answer defensively. It's for my history project. I just don't want to fight with Zach over the computer. Okay then, she says. In the kitchen, Mr. Davis is flipping his special blueberry pancakes. I stop short when I see an unfamiliar woman sitting at the table. I know it can't be a relative because I've met them all. Mia, Jenna says in a formal voice. This is Rebecca, a friend of my father's. I try not to show my surprise. Nice to meet you, I say stiffly. Same here, Rebecca replies in a throaty voice. I think it's supposed to sound sexy, but it just sounds like she's all stuffed up. And who wears a full face of makeup on Sunday morning? She must be the giver of the purple mini backpack. No one says anything after that. Jenna's dad breaks the silence with, So, Mia, ready for my world-famous flapjacks? Sure, I answer, choosing a seat across from Rebecca. I keep glancing at Jenna, but she's shoveling forks full of pancakes into her mouth as if she hasn't eaten in a week. We haven't seen you around here in a while, Mia, he says, neatly sliding a pancake from the frying pan onto my plate. Got a new boyfriend? Dad, Jenna moans. No, I vehemently deny. Rebecca smiles a little half smile that suggests she thinks I'm lying, and I decide I definitely don't like her. I know, he says, joining us at the table. You were recruited by the CIA and have been out of the country on a secret mission. I shake my head again and dig into my breakfast, matching Jenna bite for bite. Abducted by aliens? Nope. I answer with my mouth full and my eyes focused on my plate. I'm just teasing you, he says finally. I know what you've been doing. Jenna told me a few weeks ago. Oh, I say, looking at Jenna. She keeps eating. She's going to choke if she doesn't slow down. We continue eating in silence for a minute until Rebecca asks us what we're planning on doing today. I'm about to answer her when Jenna hops up from the table and says, Nothing special. Come on, Mia, let's go. Mr. Davis and Rebecca share a look. Jenna's halfway out of the kitchen before I catch up with her. That was rude, I whisper as we climb the stairs to her room. So what, she says. Sundays are supposed to be family time. You being considered family, of course. She doesn't come over on a Sunday morning. She's the rude one, if you ask me. We lie down on Jenna's bed and she changes the subject. So, what's been going on with you lately? You're in your own world most of the time. I'm about to point out that all she seems to care about lately is her party, but I don't want to fight again. If she really wants to know what's going on with me, then I'm going to tell her. The floodgates open. I tell her about Adam's email and the whole acupuncture thing. I even tell her about my baths and about the upcoming meetings. She listens patiently but stares at the ceiling the whole time. After a minute, she says, Wow, you've been busy. So what do you think? I ask, leaning up against my elbow. Isn't it cool? Yeah, it sounds cool. I still don't really understand it, though. Right, I say, pulling at the loose string on her flowered comforter. Sorry. Do you think it's something I could learn? She asks, moving her pillow so she can sit up. I remember things really well. I'm sure I can memorize the color of each letter. It doesn't work that way, I tell her, trying to keep my voice even. It's something you're born with. So you were born with it and I wasn't? After another long pause, she asked, When is this big meeting you're going to? The weekend after Thanksgiving. She jumps off the bed. But my party's that Saturday night. I know, I say quickly, hoping she couldn't tell I had actually forgotten. Maybe I am a bad friend. The meeting will be over in the afternoon. I'll be back in plenty of time. And you'll help me set up? Of course. She hands me a pen and paper from her desk. Good. Let's work on the list. I have only written down 6 names when Jenna's father knocks on the door and asks her to come downstairs. Why? She calls out. It will only take a minute, he says firmly. She grunts and takes her time getting to the door. I move over to her computer desk and log on to the internet. A whole list of references pop up for EBO, and I print them out to look at later. Homework on Sunday should be illegal. Jenna comes back in and slams the door behind her. Uh-oh, I say. Before these last few months, I'd never seen Jenna get mad. Even when her mom died, she seemed really sad, but not angry. I would have been so angry at the world, but that's just not Jenna's personality. At least it didn't used to be. You have to be nicer to Rebecca, Jenna says, imitating her dad's voice. Rebecca feels bad you don't like her, she continues. Like I care how Rebecca feels. She falls back onto the bed, and tears of frustration slide down her cheeks. I sit next to her and stroke her arm. Why haven't you told me about her? I ask. How long has she been around? Jenna sniffles. About 6 weeks, I guess. I didn't tell you because I kept hoping she'd go away. Things were fine without her. This is just his first girlfriend, I pointed out. It doesn't mean he's going to marry her. You better not, she says, sounding horrified. I picked up the birthday list. Let's keep going. Do you want to invite that girl from your gym class who refuses to wear her gym uniform because she thinks it's un-American? I don't care, she says in a flat tone. But you like her. I don't care about the stupid party, she snaps, grabbing the paper from me and tossing it in the air. Maybe you should go home. Why? I want to be alone. Are you sure? I ask. We can go on a pick mission and melt all the makeup in Rebecca's pocketbook. The stovetop's probably still warm enough. Tempting, but not today, she replies, holding her bedroom door open for me. I grab my computer printouts and hurry after her. She already has my jacket in her hand by the time I reach the bottom of the stairs. The first time in weeks I go to see her and she throws me out. I'll see you at the bus stop tomorrow. Okay, Jenna? She nods miserably and closes the door behind me. Before I get more than a step away, Jenna opens the door again. Wait, she says. Do you think your mom could give me my mother's birthday present early this year? She looks so small and sad standing in the big wooden doorway. I just want to give her a hug and tell her everything will be all right. I'll ask her, I promise. You know what? She says. Don't bother. Are you sure? Yes, she says and closes the door for good this time. I stand there for a moment longer and then walk home slowly. Everyone is out when I get home and the house seems very quiet. At least I can't fight with anyone if I'm all alone. I settle into Mom's office and look up the Igbo references on the internet. I learned that they are also called Igbos and that they believed that after their death, the gods would return their souls to Africa. That's why they drowned themselves to go home. The phone rings and startles me. I drag myself away from the Igbos and answer it. Is Mia there? A boy's voice asks. This is Mia, I respond tentatively, searching my brain to match the voice to anyone I know. It's Adam. Adam? I ask, sitting straight up in my chair. How did you get my number? Dr. Jerry, gave it to me. Hope you don't mind. No, I don't mind, I answer, my hand holding the phone is rapidly becoming sweaty. Why were you talking to Jerry? He called and invited me to the meeting out there. But you live all the way in Boston. I know, Adam says, excitement coating his words. But we worked together before, and he knows I have relatives out there I can stay with. We'll finally get to meet each other. I suddenly feel shy. Looks like it. Just then someone else picks up the phone. I know it's not at my house since I'm home alone. It better not be at my house since I'm home alone. Images from every scary movie I've ever seen run through my head, and my hand almost drops the phone. I need to make a call, Adam, a woman's voice says. Much to my relief, my heart rate slows back to normal. Just a second, Mom. We wait to hear the click before we resume talking. So I guess I'll see you in a few weeks. I guess so, I replied, wishing I could come up with something more intelligent to say. We hang up and I jump out of the chair like my feet have springs. I suddenly feel the need to celebrate by hugging Mango. I search through the house, but he's doing a good job hiding. He finally resurfaces right before bedtime. He must have had a busy day getting his revenge on the squirrels because he's very tired. Every year when it starts to get cold, the squirrels come out in full force to make sure the nuts they buried over the summer are secure. Last year at this time, Mango was smaller than the squirrels were, and they used to chase him all around the backyard. I bet this year he's letting them know who's really the boss of the yard. I try to entertain him with his stuffed Tweety, but he just rolls over and purrs. He swallows his pill without even chewing and settles down for the night on my pillow instead of on his blanket. His mango-colored wheezes keeps me awake, and I finally have to move him to his usual spot at the foot of the bed. When my alarm goes off in the morning, I awake to find Mango sitting on the window ledge, no doubt planning his next attack. Before I can roll out of bed, Zach pushes my door open and sticks his head in. So, how do I look? Huh? My ears, he says, turning his head from side to side. Oh, right. It's Halloween. They look good. Very natural. Zach has dressed up like Spock each year since he was 6. I keep telling him no one watches the original Star Trek anymore, but he won't listen. Thankfully, he's outgrown the rest of his costume, so this year he's only wearing the ears. I remember when Halloween was my favorite holiday. Now I'd forgotten all about it. I guess I'm growing up. At breakfast, I figure I better try to be sociable so my father doesn't worry so much. I tell him I think Mango is chasing the squirrels this year. I don't want to clean up any squirrel carcasses, he says, biting into his toast with homemade apple jam. He's oblivious, both to the falling crumbs and to my mother's glare as she sweeps them into her hand. Mango doesn't actually kill them, Zach says, his arm stuck halfway into a cereal box. He just scares them and chases them up trees. Cats can climb trees, Dad reminds him. Remember the last time Mango climbed a tree? I ask. I remember, Mom says. I think the fire department is still laughing to this day. What was it exactly they said? Zach asks her, even though he knows very well. It's a story he never gets tired of hearing. They told me, "Hey lady, have you ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree?" The three of them dissolve into laughter, but that was an important day for me. When Mango finally made his way down that tree, sliding on the slippery bark, he was scared and shivering. Still not fully grown, he snuggled into the folds of my sweater, and I petted him until he calmed down. That was the first time I knew he needed me. Breakfast is over when Beth comes in and starts yelling that Mom washed her white sweater with her red sweater and is now a pink sweater, and what is she supposed to wear to school? You can wear a Halloween costume, Jack suggests. Have some extra ears. Mom! Beth wails. Live long and prosper, Zach tells Beth before we run to make the bus. She is not amused. That afternoon, I arrive at history class before Roger. I wait outside the door, impatiently tapping my fingers against a cold metal locker. If he doesn't hurry, the bell is going to ring. Mrs. Morris walks past me into the room. "Are you joining us, Miss Winchell?" I have no choice but to follow her in. Just as the bell rings, Roger ducks into the door and slips into his seat. I stare at the back of his head, willing him to turn around. He's too far away for me to whisper to him, and the last time somebody was caught passing a note, Mrs. Morris tacked it up on the bulletin board. After the longest 52 minutes I can remember, I corner Roger at his desk before he can even stand up. I'm about to pounce when he holds up his hand to stop me. "Before you ask, the answer is yes. My mother set up the appointment for after school on Wednesday. She's going to call your mother tonight." "Oh, is she?" I say nonchalantly. "That's okay, right?" he asks as we leave the room together. "She does know about this, doesn't she?" "Of course she knows," I reply. "Well, she kind of knows." "Then, okay, no, she doesn't know." "Why haven't you told her?" She doesn't believe in acupuncture." Roger looks at me sideways as we walk down the hall. "Why haven't you really told her?" I stop walking. "Listen, you said if it was private, I didn't have to talk about it, remember? Can you just tell your mother I have permission?" "I guess so," Roger says, clearly not pleased. "But how are you going to pay for it then?" I hadn't thought of that. "I have some money saved," I tell him, "from allowance and odd jobs and stuff." "Okay," he says, "if it's that important to you." "It is," I tell him as forcefully as I can muster. I'm about to thank him, but he hobbles off before I get a chance. We have another test in math class today. I suppose I could try to use the method Samantha taught me, but that seems more trouble than it's worth. After all, I'm already prepared with the markers, and it hardly feels like cheating anymore. I use the bottom of my sneaker this time, since I'm not wearing jeans today. When I get home, Mom is setting up her telescope in the front yard. There's some big planetary alignment thing tonight that she's been talking about for weeks. I intend to stay on her good side for a while. Then maybe she won't ask why I'm not coming home after school on Wednesday. "Mia, I'm hoping you'll get dinner ready for me tonight so I can work out here. I already made the salad. You just have to put up the pasta." "Sure, Mom," I say. "No problem." I step around her and head to the front door. "Oh, Mia," she says, her back to me. "How was the math test today?" I stop with my hand on the doorknob. "It was good," I tell her, holding my breath. "Great," she says. "I'm proud of you." I wait until the door is shut behind me to breathe again. My plan is to lie low for the rest of the afternoon. Since Mom is outside, she won't need me to hand out the candy to the trick-or-treaters. I work on my EBO report and peek out the window at all the little witches and firemen and brides and monsters. They have no idea how complicated life can be. At 6 o'clock, I make dinner. Nobody thanks me. They all eat in a hurry and then go outside to watch Mom watch the stars. No one helps me clean up. I wring out the sponge over the sink and keep repeating one thought in my head: Wednesday cannot come fast enough. Roger lives right near the school, and on Tuesday, the four of us walk to his house together. Roger leads us into the kitchen and tells us to set up camp at the round wooden table. "Oh, do you have a dog?" Laura asks, almost tripping over a big silver doggy bowl. Right next to it is a squeaky toy in the shape of a steak. Because I'm allergic to animals with fur, I get hives all over my arms and legs. Roger slowly closes the refrigerator door, sets down 4 cans of soda. He shakes his head. "No, we don't have a dog, so you don't have to worry." Laura glances at the bowl on the floor and then looks questioningly at me. I guess Roger's family isn't ready to let go yet. I can't meet Roger's eyes until the meeting is half over. After a while, no one has anything to say about the Ebos, so we move into the den and watch videos. Beth picks me up at 5 o'clock. Her friend Courtney is with her, so I have to sit in the back. The two of them ignore me and blabber on about what they're going to wear to the junior prom, which is something like 7 whole months away. I'm glad they're not talking to me, so I don't have to pretend to care about their dresses. For dinner, we have the leftovers from the meal I cooked yesterday. And again, nobody thanks me. I'm already out of my seat when the final school bell rings on Wednesday. Roger's waiting for me by my locker as planned, looking uncomfortable. I toss my books inside and grab my backpack. He had told me to wear comfortable clothes, so I'm wearing the loosest pants and sweater I could find. I feel like I'm in my pajamas. I climb into the Carsons minivan and notice that it still smells faintly of dog. Roger and I don't say much on the way to the acupuncturist, which is fine because Mrs. Carson talks enough for everyone. All that's required of me is an occasional "oh" and "uh-huh." She lets us off in front of the office and then goes to park. A little bell rings as we open the door, and the waiting room is very warm and inviting. I recognize the smell of vanilla incense because Beth's been burning it recently. There's a chart on the wall showing the points where the needles go in. I start to feel a little faint. I'm supposed to go right in, Roger says. You need to sit down and fill out a form. He points to a clipboard on the unoccupied front desk. Okay, I tell him, reaching for it. He heads into one of the open office doors, and I remain standing in the middle of the room. You all right? He asks, turning slightly. Uh-huh, I reply. I'm fine. It doesn't hurt, he says. You don't have to worry. I'm not worried. Then why haven't you moved from that spot? No reason. Just then the doctor comes out from the back and ushers Roger into the room. She is around 60 years old and looks a lot like my last memory of Grams. This makes me feel a little better. After all, Grams would never hurt me. The door closes behind them, and for a second I'm alone in the office. For that second, I seriously consider leaving. Maybe this is a bad idea. Then Mrs. Carson enters from outside, complaining that there's not enough parking in this one-horse town. The cool breeze from outside wakes me up a little. I sit down and begin filling out the form. It would take me an hour to answer all these questions. I skip down to the bottom where it asks why I'm here. Earache. Both ears. Mrs. Carson quietly flips through the pages of some kind of alternative healing magazine. She can't possibly read anything that quickly. After about 15 minutes, Roger comes out of the office, limping slightly less than before. Your turn, Roger says. I smile weakly and give him my seat. I walk over to the office door and peek in. The room is very small, with a long padded table in the center and shelves along the walls. Come in, the acupuncturist says with a wave. I won't bite. I step in the room and close the door behind me. I'm sorry. I'm not very good around doctors, I guess. She pats a table next to her, and I sit on the edge of it. My name is Faith, and if it makes you feel any better, I'm not a real doctor. I look up with a start. You're not? She shakes her head and talks to me while she looks over my chart. I'm certified in the practice of acupuncture. You know how doctors study anatomy so they know how the body works? I nod. It's very similar. I know where all the energy centers of the body intersect, and I can tell when they're not flowing properly. That's how I know where to put the needles in and how to rotate them. You understand? I tell her I do, even though it all sounds pretty bizarre. All the talk about energy flow reminds me of Beth's yoga stuff. I can't believe I'm doing something that Beth might agree with. Faith directs me to lie down and tells me that for our first session, She's only going to leave the needles in for 10 minutes. I close my eyes so I can't see what they look like. That's good, she says gently. Close your eyes and relax. Have faith in faith. She laughs at her joke, and I try to smile, but I'm too nervous. My lips just twitch. Can you describe your earaches? My heart sinks. I hadn't thought of this part. Just a general ache in the middle of both ears. Usually just in the morning. I'm going to have to do more than 3 good deeds for this one. She nods thoughtfully. I'm only going to use 6 needles on you today. 2 will go at your ankles, 2 at your hips, and 2 in your upper ears. Just as I wonder what the heck I am doing here and how I can make a graceful exit, I feel a pinch on my left ankle, then my right. But the pinches don't go away, and I open my eyes slightly and look down. There are long needles sticking out of my ankles. Now she's at my hip, and I squeeze my eyes shut again. How come I'm not bleeding? I ask as the needles go in my hips. I try not to picture what they look like. The holes are so small that when I pull the needles out, the skin closes up before any blood can come out. Sometimes you might get a little bruise or a few drops of blood if I hit a small vein. She must be used to answering that question. But that's not likely. I'm beginning to feel a little woozy. Tiny gray balls float in front of my eyes. Faith moves the hair away from my right ear, and I can actually hear the needle penetrating the cartilage. The tiny gray balls turn silver, bright silver, and now there are swirls of yellow mixed in. The needle goes in my other earlobe, and small bubbles, like multicolored marbles, enter from the left and zoom in front of my face until I lose sight of them. I've never seen colored shapes before without sounds triggering them. I can't believe I can do this. The bubbles are now undulating and forming the most incredible streaks of color. Oh, I squeak, unable to keep it in. Wow. Is everything all right? She asks. I try to answer but can't tear my focus away from the visions. Faith's voice sounds very far away. Uh-huh. I somehow manage to respond. I force myself to stop smiling so she doesn't think I'm a loon. The woman who wrote the article describes seeing the bubbles, but her description didn't do it justice. She must not have seen what I'm seeing. If you're okay with this, then next time I'll use electric current with the needles. I nod, still vaguely aware of the pinching, in the same way that I'm vaguely aware that I'm not alone in the room. All that matters is the display before me. Then suddenly, it's gone. Faith pulls out the last needle and rubs the spot with a little ointment. I open my eyes but don't move. I feel like I just awoke from some amazing dream. You can lie here for a few minutes if you like, she offers. Your chi was activated, and you'll need to release it slowly. My what was what? I ask, still staring up at the ceiling. Your chi, she repeats, was turned on. Chi is the Chinese word for our internal energy. The acupuncture needles directed around your body to help you heal. I'm about to ask her how soon I can come back when I notice there is an indistinct brownish pink cloud around her upper body. I glance at the ceiling, then back at her. It's still there. I sit up and rub my eyes. She moves across the room to open the door, and the haze goes with her, but it also trails behind. I can still see a brownish pink glow where she was first standing. I force myself to get off the table and follow her and her trailing cloud into the waiting room. Roger and his mom look up. Roger is encased in a tomato red glow, and his mother is yellow. Since Roger is a purple name, it's very unnerving to see him in red. I try not to stare at everyone while I wait for Faith to tell me how long it will take until my chi settles back down. Everyone's different, she says, sticking my chart on a crowded shelf. Probably a few hours. Roger joins me at the desk, and we schedule our appointments for next week. I can't help watching the red haze swirl slightly around his head. Tiny tendrils float away from him as he talks to me. As we walk to the car, I look closely at the people passing us. Everyone has their own misty aura around them. Some people's auras are very active, with tendrils and balls shooting off of them and landing on other people. How are those people doing that? How come nobody notices this? My legs feel like rubber, and I'm on the verge of totally freaking out. In the confined space of the car, the color clouds are brighter. They seem to fill all the available space. From the passenger seat, Roger asked me what I thought of my session. His voice sounds muffled, as if it's buried under layers of red. It was amazing, I tell him, my voice cracking. Thank you so much for bringing me. It was amazing, he asked, not hiding the surprise from his voice. Oops. I mean, it was fine. I lower my voice to a whisper. Roger, do you ever see anything afterwards in the air? No, he says. Like what? So it's just me after all. Never mind. Thanks again for bringing me. No problem. He turns to face the window. I can see in the reflection of the glass that he's blushing. His cloud grows brighter and shimmers for a few seconds. I stare in awe as a long tendril winds itself off of him, lands on my shoulder, and instantly disappears into my own green haze. I look down at myself. My own green haze! I have it too! I haven't thought of that. A feeling of jubilation spreads through me. I'm seeing invisible things. Beth's friend, Brent's now red sports car, is in our driveway, so Mrs. Carson lets me off at the curb. Most people who live out here have trucks, since some of these roads can be pretty bumpy. Maybe Brent thinks a sports car matches his soap opera name. Beth can't stop talking about the car, even though she and Brent are just friends. I thank both Mrs. Carson and Roger again, profusely and practically skipping across the lawn. Beth and Brent walk out of the front door while I'm still a few yards away. I duck behind the big oak tree and watch them. Beth's yellowish brown glow is very similar to Brent's golden brown one. Brent says something to Beth in a teasing voice, and her colors glow even brighter and do a shimmering little dance like Roger's had done in the car. I couldn't hear what Brent said, but Beth must have liked it. Tiny tendrils break off from her color cloud and blend with his. My heart beats faster as I watch this. I feel like I'm watching a science fiction movie. I get the very real feeling that Beth and Brent are most definitely more than friends. They get into Brent's car and pull away, never noticing me. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for everyone and everything and all the creatures on the planet. Adam is not going to believe this. I skip into the house feeling like I'm magic. I step right over Zach, who's sitting in the hallway, surrounded by his ever-expanding comic collection. His silver cloud twinkles happily. Mango slides across the freshly waxed front hallway and leaves a mango-colored streak behind him. A wonderful, magical mango streak that fills my heart to bursting.